All right, let's take on the advisory now. And did you know the clock is ticking on the deadline to get your tax return in? And some of us are late. My next guest says it is crucial for sole traders to get their stuff in order to file on time or risk fines. So, Henry Australia's Managing Director, Karan Anand, joins me now. Hi, Karan. Welcome to the program. So, what is this? Sole traders? I mean, do we know how many are usually filing late or where the real time pressure comes from?
Sure, Nadine, thanks for having me on the show. So we do a Henry Sole Trader Pulse 3 times a year, and the October one is really exciting. Excuse me if I say it's exciting because we're tax accountants, so we nerd out a little bit over this stuff. But we've learned that 45% of sole traders are yet to complete their tax returns, which for the vast majority of them are due on the 31st of October, which is later this week. And 17% concerningly haven't even started their tax return. So there's quite a number out of the 1.5 million sole traders in Australia still needing to get their tax returns done really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It is not, I'm sorry, and I don't want to cast shade on you as a tax accountant, but I mean, it's time consuming, isn't it? It's not the most fun job getting everything in order. Is that what's holding people back, or is there some bigger issue than that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's the number one issue is the time required. So in the Pulse, we learned that it's taking about 15 hours on average for a sole trader to get their tax return done. That's on top of the average 8 hours a week they spend on financial and tax administration, which is a business day a week, which is an incredible amount of time. But they're also spending on average about $1,000 just for the pointy part of compliance, which is their tax return. So alongside that, there's also the second part, which is they're concerned that this year their refunds won't be as big. In previous years, the government's instituted some COVID-specific policies, which sort of bled into the last financial year. Those have expired now. And then thirdly, it's just stressful, right? Just collecting your receipts and making sure that you've got everything recorded properly, making sure everything is in whatever software package or whatever advisor you're using with you, making sure everything's with them. It can be a really stressful time.
Yeah. So that deadline of October the 31st, how hard a deadline is that? Or can you be a few days late, a couple of weeks late? I mean, what are you risking?
So this year in particular, the ATO have really been on the front foot advising Australians to make sure that they get their tax returns done on time and any debt that they've got that they're on top of it, because essentially that honeymoon period, if you will, that we had post-COVID, where they weren't chasing debts, they've told us through the tax accounting fraternity, but also very clearly publicly that they're no longer giving anyone a free ride. So it's a $300 plus fine if you miss the deadline within 28 days. And if you rack up a debt, there's some serious interest that goes on with that. So if you can't get it done in time, what I advise all your listeners is to make sure they at least get on the listing of a tax agent, which for a number of taxpayers will allow them to get an extension out to May next year. But if not, you got to make sure you get some plans in this week.
Okay. All right. Beyond that, you're obviously at the coalface dealing with a lot of these sole traders. We hear a lot about rising insolvencies and small to medium sized enterprises. What is your sense of what's going on out there in the Aussie economy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the sole trader sector is not one that's frequently consulted or polled upon. It sort of falls in the broad spectrum of small and medium enterprises, which, as you can understand, are a huge segment of the economy. But out of the 2.4 million small businesses, 1.6 million are sole traders. It's a huge percentage. And what we learned from this pulse was actually kind of against the grain. We saw a tipping in terms of performance where 55% of sole traders told us that they had a better quarter in the October quarter than they had the one before, which frankly surprised us a little bit given some of the negative rhetoric we're seeing around the state of the economy and rising insolvencies as well. But I think what's really important is that this is the segment of the economy that is the best bellwether in terms of prime economic activity in the coal face. So I think if their conditions are improving, it means one, hopefully the inflation genie is going back into its bottle, but also secondly, they're expressing confidence around interest rates turning around. They're starting to see economic activity pick up, and particularly as we get into the summer months, which can be busy for a number of our customers, they point to good signs. So we're actually quite bullish about the economy on the back of some of the results we're seeing from the latest polls.